We brought in 176 influencers from 42 countries. Do you invite them or do they reach out to you? But despite your love for the city, are there any downsides to living in Almaty that you've noticed? Absolutely. Could you explain what the Almaty vibe is? It's hard to put into words, but if you're in Almaty, you can feel it. Kamila Lukpanova has been leading a major team at the Almaty Tourism Bureau for the past 6 years, working to raise the southern capital's profile on the international stage. In professional terms, it's called destination marketing. This is where ideas are born about how to attract foreign visitors to Almaty and what will truly impress them once they arrive. Hello, Kamila. Hello and welcome to Almaty. Thank you so much. We're in Almaty for work, but clearly a lot of people are coming here just to unwind and enjoy themselves. Last year alone, nearly 2.3 million tourists visited Almaty. That's almost a 15% increase, according to official figures. Those are impressive numbers. But tell me, was this growth something you anticipated, or was it more a matter of good timing and favorable circumstances? Oh, there's definitely a reason behind it. These kinds of results come from forecasts and well-thought-out strategies, not just from the mayor's office of Almaty, but I'd say from the entire republic. That said, Almaty is something of a flagship city. I'd even say we're trendsetters, so none of this happened by accident. So you actually predicted this growth? Without a doubt. Let me give you a great example. When we first started this work back in 2017, we were still doing consulting, but we slowly began shifting toward destination marketing. One of our first big questions was, where do we start and who should we be targeting? And by the standard rules of marketing and tourism, we looked at countries where you have a direct flight connection, no visa requirements, and ideally a flight time under 3 to 4 hours, just to keep things convenient. And who made that list? Back then it was China and India, and now 8 years on, if you take out the pandemic years, we're seeing exactly the results we forecasted for that 4 to 5 year window. And they've continued to grow. So Indian and Chinese tourists are now among... They're in our top 5. I'd love to dive into your vision for the future of tourism in Almaty. What kind of economic impact you're hoping for? And more broadly, how you're shaping the international image of our southern capital. I'd love to share that. We've got both short-term goals and long-term ambitions, and we're aiming high. So here we are at one of our newest and most up-to-date locations, one of 10 Visit Almaty info points. This one's right on Panfilov Street, the city's busiest pedestrian and tourist hub. Ah, and I see a consultant here to greet us. Yes, every info point has a consultant on duty who speaks at least 3 languages fluently. And at the airport we even have staff who speak Chinese. Impressive. So what exactly can tourists find out here? What kinds of questions do they usually ask? Good afternoon. Most visitors want directions or ask what they should see in Almaty. Our job is to give them accurate, helpful information and offer things like city maps and tourist passports, all available in 3 languages. And all that's free of charge. Yes. But answering a question like, what should I see, isn't always easy. You really have to understand what they're interested in. Is that part of the consultant's job too?
Функции консультанта.
Definitely. We actually have some basic scripts we follow. First, we try to find out where the tourist is from. Sometimes we can make a guess based on their appearance, like whether they might be European or Asian, for example. Can't you just ask where they're from? Absolutely. First of all, we always ask where the tourist is from. We record the information in our visitor log to track the flow of tourists. After the consultation, we also ask each visitor to leave feedback, because it's really important to us. The second major element is, of course, our printed materials. For example, here's this year's updated map. Why was it updated? To make sure all the information is up to date, we've added new projects like the Almaty Pass. It's a kind of all-access ticket that lets you visit several attractions in one day. So it saves money. Exactly. Plus, everything included in the pass is officially verified, like our partners at visit centers, Kazakh national parks. Think of the stunning Kolsay or Sharn. Our museum partners are also featured. We all work closely together under the mayor's office. I'm noticing QR codes everywhere. That's so convenient. Yes, QR codes everywhere and everything's available in English. Of course, we go beyond the city itself. The Almaty region is also featured, with all the must-see spots marked. The main map focuses on the historical city center, perfect for those who love exploring on foot and want to really take in the sights of Almaty. Kamila, those visitor centers, they really marked the beginning back in 2017, didn't they? That's when Almaty started carving out its identity as a tourist hotspot. That's exactly right. In April 2017, we launched what was then called Visit Almaty. Officially, it was known as the Tourist Information Center, or TIC for short. You'll find quite a few TICs across the country now, but most of them are standard government-run institutions. We've always stood apart. While we were initially a subdivision of the city's tourism department, we still went by the TIC name. Our core focus was, and remains, offering visitors reliable, high-quality information. You started out just helping tourists with information, and now your work revolves more around promoting Almaty's brand. So it's gone from just assisting tourists to actively drawing them in. Exactly. And really, it's part of a global best practice, when the government starts small by offering proper guidance and sharing relevant, engaging information that makes tourists want to come back. But back in 2017, we understood that wasn't enough. One of the big influences for me personally was my experience with the Universiade before I moved into tourism in Almaty. Still, it became clear that consultation alone wouldn't cut it. We needed to shift toward destination marketing. At the time, though, it wasn't entirely clear what that even meant. Thankfully, my third degree was actually in branding, place branding, to be precise, and I wrote my dissertation back in 2011 on Expo and how it could shape Kazakhstan's national brand. So I had both the academic and theoretical background and also an intuitive grasp of it, thanks to my earlier work in the private sector. It was absolutely fascinating. And with strong support from leadership, we were able to head in that direction. So when people today talk about the rise in tourists from India, China and Southeast Asia over the past 5 or 6 years, that's exactly what we had predicted back in 2017-2018. And it's all written in the promotional strategy documents from that time. Kamila, while we're on our way up to Koktobé, I have to ask, you're not originally from Almaty, right? So how did your relationship with the city develop? Because now it really feels like you know every corner of it, and it's clear you truly love this place. That's true, I was born in the west, in the city of Oral, but I've spent nearly 2 decades in Almaty now, apart from some time away for my studies. I really started getting to know the city deeply when I was 17, in my first year of university. I think it's a story a lot of people can relate to. A classic student romance. Exactly, it really was. Almaty became my first real love, especially coming from Oral. The distance is huge. And even by plane, it's a 3-hour, 20-minute flight. So to me, Almaty felt like something out of a dream. The mountains, especially Medeu, were so majestic. When you were just getting to know Almaty, did it ever cross your mind that one day you'd be the one telling the world about this city? That's such an interesting twist. It really is, and honestly, not at all. When I came back in 2012, after studying in England for a year, where I wrote my dissertation on national branding, I had no idea I'd end up doing this. It wasn't until 5 or 6 years later that I realized I was actually working in this field. It was through the Visit Almaty project that I suddenly saw how I could blend all my skills. On one hand, I've always loved events, marketing, PR. On the other, I feel very comfortable working with the public sector. And most importantly, and I know this might sound a bit lofty, I really want to contribute to society in a meaningful way. So everything just kind of fell into place. The point isn't that no one's ever done this before in Kazakhstan, it's that we're reimagining the way we present our beloved city. We're creating something that inspires more people to visit, and like you said, I do love this city, and so does our whole team. That shared passion is what drives us. But despite your love for the city, are there any downsides to living in Almaty that you've noticed? Absolutely. At the Bureau, we try to stay open and honest, both with ourselves and with the city, because we're responsible for what we promote. And yes, there are definitely issues, especially with infrastructure, that really need to be addressed. We never try to pretend everything's perfect. Let's be real, nothing is. Promoting a city isn't like selling a product or building a personal brand. It's about representing a living place where everything's interconnected. So of course, there are bumps along the way. I don't like calling them problems, though. I think of them as challenges or barriers we need to overcome together. There's definitely work to be done and things that could be improved. And all these marketing, how much does it cost? Because, let's be honest, you often hear people ask, why are we spending so much on this? Or, what's the point of paying all these foreign influencers? Who knows if any of this even works? What's your response to that? The influencers question, one of the all-time favorites. But honestly, everything we do, every tenge we spend is thought through. Nothing happens without proper research. We have a sizable team, about 50 people in the office, spread across 3 departments. The largest, of course, is marketing, which includes our analytics and research division. Every decision we make is driven by data, numbers, trends, forecasts. Even bloggers, they're just one tool in our communication kit. And we're very mindful of our budget. It's not huge, about 1.2 billion tenge allocated purely for marketing. Per year. Yes, it might sound like a lot, but it's just over $2 million. And for promoting an entire city, that's really not much at all. As someone who's worked in destination marketing, I can tell you that's a pretty modest budget. So influencers, are they a costly tool, or could you say they're one of the more affordable options when it comes to reaching a global audience? Let me give you an example. Last year, we brought in 176 influencers from 42 countries, and the results were incredible. The overall impact was massive, because when you add up the reach of all these influencers, not just from their real-time posts, but from everything they continue to share in the following weeks, it's like a ripple effect. That's why our Opinion Leaders program has really proven its worth. Why? Because we don't spend money on honorariums, we only invest in the experience itself. That's actually a really important detail, because it can give the impression that influencers are coming here to make money. But we don't pay anyone to post. We don't cover their flights or give them honorariums. We pay for the experience. We meet them, give them a welcome gift, and more importantly, we craft a personalized program just for them. This is where the creativity comes in. It's tailor-made. Each influencer gets a customized itinerary. Why does that matter? Because each influencer is different. Some focus on lifestyle, some are parents, others are into fashion, tech, or even niche industries. Some are into history or quirky hidden gems. So we do our research before they arrive, find out what they're interested in, and then build an itinerary around that. It's like tailoring a suit. We create a program that fits their unique interests. Do you invite them, or do they reach out to you? It depends. Sometimes we invite them, sometimes a partner like a hotel or a restaurant wants to bring someone and they ask us to collaborate. Sometimes it's our colleagues from Kazakh Tourism or the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. So does that affect whether tourists pay for activities at those spots? Absolutely. Over the past decade, the way people, especially younger travelers, decide where to go has completely changed. Nowadays, they rely on reviews or they get inspired by a stunning Instagram reel or a TikTok video. And it works. It's been proven. If we were paying influencers directly for that kind of reach, it would cost us at least 15 times more than what we're spending now. So where does that 1 billion tenge go exactly? How is the marketing budget spent? We've consciously moved away from traditional advertising like billboards. If we had a bigger budget, we'd probably run outdoor ads in key cities like at Istanbul Airport, in Qatar, Seoul or London, places with direct flights to Almaty. But with our current budget, we have to spend wisely. That's why digital marketing has become our top priority. These days, your phone is basically an extension of your hand. What about YouTube ads? Yes, we do YouTube ads, social media campaigns, contextual ads, traditional advertising, Google, all with proper analytics. A third of our budget goes into promoting Almaty across 12 key markets. We choose those markets based on research. That's where we direct our advertising. A few years ago, we used generic messages like Visit Almaty or Discover Almaty, but last year we changed it up. We started tailoring the content to each market, crafting messages that really resonate. And we do it all ourselves. For example, when it comes to Turkish tourists, they feel a deep connection to Kazakhstan as they see it as the land of their ancestors. Even their president mentioned it on Twitter during his visit. I am on the land of my ancestors. So we play on that connection. Come and reconnect with your roots. For Europeans, it's all about authenticity. They're fascinated by the beauty of our people, both men and women, as well as our traditional clothing and jewelry. And for travelers from Asia, especially India, it's the snow that captivates them. We're standing on the observation deck at Köktöbe with an incredible view of Almaty. And in this spot, I really want to dive into the branding of the city. Most people know it as the City of Apples, which is its most famous brand. But what else is there? Do you or your company have a vision for how Almaty should be marketed on the global stage? Almaty once had a branding slogan, Almaty, City of 1,000 colors. But the thing with marketing is that it needs to evolve and be updated over time. Right, but those kinds of phrases are pretty vague. They don't really give much insight to someone who doesn't know the city well. Exactly. Imagine you're trying to promote something. To put it simply, the challenge with Almaty and with any destination is that you're not just promoting a product. You're promoting a living, breathing organism. So it's really a science. Back in the late 90s, my supervisor, Simon Alhand, introduced the concept of destination marketing. It's a whole set of strategies to promote your beloved city in the most effective way. So maybe City of 1,000 colors isn't quite the right fit. City of 1,000 colors was a great starting point. But one of the key things we're pushing in our bureau, and personally what I've been advocating to the city and national leaders, is that Almaty is more than ready to develop its own unique brand. Right now, Almaty is associated with the snow leopard, the mountains, apples, multiculturalism, and being a cultural hub. But that's not how marketing works. There always has to be one clear focus, a unique selling point, something that makes people want to choose you. So, a USP. Exactly, a USP. We've got our tourism brand, Visit Almaty, which we've been building for 8 years now. And there are 5 key aspects we focus on, and they're proven to work. First off, city by the mountains. That's our shorthand. Nature is our biggest asset, and Almaty is one of the top 10 cities in the world where from the airport you can be on the slopes in 30 to 40 minutes. That's a rare and valuable offering. Plus, within a 360-kilometer radius, you can experience nearly every type of climate. Glaciers, lakes, deserts, steppes. So nature is a huge selling point, the city by the mountains. Our second major focus, which we're really emphasizing this year, is food. Almaty is a hidden gem for food lovers with its diverse culinary scene. You can try dishes from all over the world without even leaving the city. Everything's delicious, affordable, and suitable for any budget. But look, when tourists come to a country, they're looking for something authentic, right? Sure, you can gather the world's best chefs here in this big business hub, which is exactly what's happening. But isn't it more interesting to interpret our national cuisine? Thank you so much for this question, because it's actually very relevant to us, especially over the last 3 years when we've seen a huge boom in the gastronomy industry. Last year we made a kind of declaration. We officially introduced and embraced the concept of neo-nomadic cuisine. Internationally, we call it nomadism cuisine. And it's not just Kazakh cuisine, it's Central Asian cuisine as a whole, reinterpreted in a modern way. And thanks to all the events, influencers, experts, and of course chefs we've brought in, as well as those our partners and restaurateurs have brought in, we finally started making it onto global rankings. This year we made it into the 50 Best Discovery list, which is a ranking recommending cuisines to try. Our restaurant with neo-nomadic cuisine was included there. These are our unique features. And the third one is definitely the Almaty vibe. Could you explain what the Almaty vibe is? It's hard to put into words, but if you're in Almaty, you can feel it. It starts with things like outdoor sitting in December or March, sipping coffee. First of all, it's the climate and the weather, which really play in our favor. Secondly, there's this creative cultural atmosphere. Almaty as the epicenter for directors, creatives, producers, artists, and craftsmen. You can see it everywhere, starting with the look of the city to the people living here. And fourth, it's the sense of safety and the multiculturalism. Officially, more than 100 nationalities are registered here in Almaty. And safety is something that always ranks in the top 3 when we conduct surveys. People speak multiple languages, and no matter their religion, everyone feels at home. Lastly, fifths, we can't ignore the Silk Road. Almaty is part of this larger stand-tip trip, which are the typical tours chosen by Europeans and Americans. They usually visit Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, and Uzbekistan at a minimum. And if they have more time, they also go to Tajikistan and Turkmenistan. So that's the stand-tip trip. I'm listening to you and I realize this sounds like a great foundation for branding. So why isn't it done yet? There's no real complexity to it. What's needed is the will, the decision, and support. We're absolutely ready for it, and we really need it. Over the past 3 years, we've become much more popular. The whole world is starting to pay attention to us. Wow, there's a separate Central Asia. So what makes us attractive? Why is there such dynamic growth? Besides the advertising and efforts to draw attention here, there's the trend for untouched destinations. People want to be the first to discover new places. They want to travel somewhere with pristine nature, something unique. and then brag about it to their friends, like, guess what, I was in Kazakhstan. Somewhere no one's been yet. Exactly, that's what avid travelers, especially those with money, are looking for, and we need that for an investment.
Нам как раз-таки нужны деньги извне, да.
Если продолжать разговор о деньгах, вы...
If we keep talking about money, how do you convert these people, those 2.3 million tourists we talked about earlier, into actual revenue in your reports?
в деньги в ваших отчетах?
Official data comes from tax revenue. The most important thing is how much tax revenue is generated in the city. So right now, yes, because we're experiencing a big boom. The largest portion of tax revenue now comes from the food and beverage sector. Restaurants in particular have been performing exceptionally well. After them, it's hotels. We have a development program for Almaty until 2030, which has already been approved. The main KPI and goal for tourism is to capture 8% of the city's GRDP. And where are you at now? Right now, it's barely 4%, around 3.8%. But given the growth rate, we'll definitely get there.
Но раз вы говорите о том, что все эти идеи...
Since you're saying that your team of creatives is coming up with all these ideas, do you feel confident that you can compete with global agencies? Do you have the creative potential?
Мировыми агентствами, возможно. То есть есть ли вот этот творческий потенциал у вас?
Однозначно, учитывая, что...
Absolutely. Given that Almaty is the cultural and creative hub, I can say without a doubt that the market is ready.
Вернее, помимо того, что есть бюро, вообще, если смотреть...
Besides the bureau, if you look at who's on the market now, some incredibly talented people have come back. Directors, artists, creatives, and screenwriters.
Мы вообще давно готовы.
We're definitely ready to create on our own.
Если раньше, лет...
10 to 8 years ago, it was necessary to bring in foreign experts, but now there's no need for that.
Сейчас уже в этом нет необходимости.
So we can create a brand book.
Конечно, однозначно.
Of course, absolutely.
Всегда за это.
We're more than ready for it.
Достойно, мы уже созрели.
We've all been trained, we have the experience, and if we're missing anything from abroad, we all have international diplomas. More importantly, we're the locals, so who better than us to promote and package our city? Plus, there have been numerous projects where we've already tested ourselves. For example, last year we had Netflix and Amazon come over, and another major production, I can't say which one yet, was shooting a global show here. They come as the production team but hire everything else locally. And they were amazed. Our level is on par with anyone else's. So once again I say that we are more than ready to create our own brand book and brand the country and its cities.